Welcome back to the No Effects Podcast. I'm your host, Islane, and as usual, I am joined by my co-host, Kirk.
Hello, everyone.
How's it going today, Kirk?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Doing all right. Just trying to get over this damn cold. I still have plenty of congestion. We should have recorded this about a week ago, but did not because I was feeling like shit. And, well, still not 100%, but we're getting it done anyway. So
That's right.
apologies for this coming out a little bit late, but yeah, we at least got here eventually. So
If you're fighting through a cold and I'm fighting through the cold, it's freaking cold in the Midwest right now. I'm sick of this weather. Come on, spring and summer.
yeah, it's been, despite the fact that I'm in a place where it's cushy most of the time in Southern California, it has been colder than usual, I would say, for the last while, and we've gotten more rain this year too than we have in a couple years at least. So hopefully that means there's less of that drought talk like there
Yeah, no
usually
doubt.
is.
Knock on wood, man.
Yeah. Either way, one thing that I wanted to announce before we get into what we're going to get into is that officially there are now playmats that you can get that'll be something kind of like this. I don't know if you can see it very well, but got these made a while back for the main channel. Same company. We've gotten the No Effects Podcast logo in a couple of different colors on the same sort of playmat. So if you're interested in that, I'll put it in the show notes. It's Inked Gaming. We'll have these up here for you. You can still get the original logo for the channel and my last podcast endeavor, which is still a cool looking logo regardless, and is cool if you like the whole did you pay the one thing for Ristic Study. So all those are available in gaming.com /collection/artists, the Possibility Storm. Again, we'll be in the link below or the description below, and you guys can check that out. But so we have our main discussion topic to this week. We wanted to talk about various resources that you can find. Maybe you're new to the game and you haven't really been online. Maybe you just talk to people at your LGS. You get your news through the pipeline, however that may be. But most people in the internet age are able to point you in some better directions. But I know that not everybody is as enfranchised as we are. So there's a possibility you might be new to the game, new to the format, and don't really know where to look for info. And if you stumble across this podcast, we're going to point you in some directions of things that you can use as far as websites, tools, equipment, things to play online, and generally make your setup look decent, and some etiquette stuff as well. So I mean, that's what we're going to be talking about later on. But because I figure a lot of that is going to be stuff we're going to run right through, and there's not a lot to share outside of pointing you in the direction of checking out the links, which definitely check out the show notes. There's going to be a lot of links, a lot of information to absorb. Even more veteran players might not know about some of the stuff that we're going to talk about. So hopefully this is informative for everyone. But before we get into that, something that I wanted to do but we haven't done in the first couple episodes was have kind of a breaking the ice segment where we talk about whatever is new current events wise for us in particular, what we've done since the last time we talked, and just basically anything MTG related that you might want to share, new brew or something that you've ordered or some deck you put together, whatever the case may be. So I'm gonna let you start, Kirk. What is something new that you've been working on in the MTG sphere?
I have been one busy little bee. So most recent deck I've brewed is the Vishgraz, the Doom Hive. I don't even know if I'm saying it properly, but it's an Aristocrats deck. It's something I'm planning on building. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have it in time for a certain upcoming stream, but it's something a little different, something you don't see every day. So that's, as we've talked about, that's my wheelhouse as a brewer. I like doing unique things that are outside of the norm so that I don't sit down at a table and already everybody knows exactly what I'm going to be doing and trying to go off with. So that's the newest deck I've brewed. Other than that, I've been working on helping a local game store set up some of their recording material, and so they can kind of stream games if they want to, stream some of their top matches, and I go there and play a little Commander with some of my friends. So shout out to Cafe Monster in Omaha. Anyway, Other than that, that's about it. And I guess the other thing is Lane and I have both been talking about we're both not really giant tech junkies, but we both like our little tech stuff. So we're talking about computers we're building. He's working on building a new computer, and I'm probably right behind him. So, what about you, Lane? What you been up to?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, I did just order the parts for a new PC build, which is the first time I've done so since 2015 ish. So, like to put it in perspective, I'm, on a i7 from that era. I'm on a 980 graphics card, yada yada. So, I mean, it's old, but it has served me well up to this point. It's done everything I needed it to do. It's been a very reliable machine. I've never had to like reformat it or do anything of that nature. It's always just been good to me. Although I will say, in recent months, um, rendering and stuff seems to really bog it down. It's showing its age for sure. And then some of the newer games that I like to play, you just can't run on the highest settings possible, which I was spoiled and could do for a number of years. So it's going to be a nice change of pace. But as far as Magic goes, the latest thing that I brewed, it was actually after not this last week's stream, but the week before. I did some competitive Pauper Commander with some of the usuals that I have on the channel, and one of the guys played a deck that he built with Ryan from the Tryhards slash Common Connoisseurs. It was the Oxida Finisher, which is this big fucking ogre that is very reminiscent of Dargo. Doesn't have partner, unfortunately, because it would be sweet to have
Hmm.
another color. Regardless, it's a 7/5, just the same as Dargo, but it's an ogre, and it has an interesting mechanic. It's affinity, but it's not just affinity for artifact; it's affinity for equipments. So
That is a weird one.
basically, you want to slam in as many 0 and 1 drop equipments as possible, so that you're just like turn 1, slam 3 equipments, turn 2, slam 2 more, turn 3, cast a 2 mana 7/5 that I say even and it innately has trample already. So it's just like give it flying and you just kill people. Especially in that format, it's a if you can give it +1 power, it's a 2-hit kill because
Oh, it's 16
Popper
commander, right?
it's 16 commander damage. Yeah, so pretty crazy. I've test driven it a little bit. I've not had the greatest success, but it is what it is. In the game that the other guy played it, it looked very scary, and but yeah, I mean, it was his creation, and it was the first time I had seen it, so it was kind of wild. But then
I didn't watch the stream yet. Is Lane spoiler? Sorry, but I gotta ask: did you finally get your win you've been looking for, or not?
no, I was close the time I played Rasad, and I was close this last time playing the Toxic Commander. I was there, but it was mine. It's got stolen from me again, but that's fine. It will come eventually. I don't know if this is going to be the deck that does it, but this deck does feel pretty competitive, and I've decided that I'm going to try and put some of these together in paper finally, because honestly, I've got like 3 decks that are like $30 a piece. So for $100, I could get them all put together in paper with all real cards and just not have to worry about it. Buy a couple packs of sleeves and be done. So yeah, that's basically all I've been up to with that. It's a cool idea, but not necessarily the most powerful thing. But then again, it's CPDH, so it's kind of a whole another beast. So with that stuff said, I suppose we should move on to the main topic. So our first, we're going to break this up into a couple segments. So the part 1 is basically our favorite resources and or products that we can point you to that will help you with building decks, with looking up stuff, with getting information. Also, places where you can play the game, places where you can buy singles, that sort of thing. So think mostly websites, but then also, I mean, I'll shout. We don't have them listed here particularly, so I'll shout them out now. Things like Infinity tokens, they're those reusable vinyl little tokens that you can write on those with erasable dry erase markers, erase them afterwards. They're reusable, they're awesome. They're double-sided, so one side is good for creatures, one side is good for other sorts of permanents. If you run Paco Halden or Evelyn or anything where you're stealing other people's stuff over webcam, it's a huge boon to be able to just write it down and not have to worry about it.
I mean, even Gilded Drake, it's just super handy to have them handy.
There's a billion things that you might do, because I mean, even if you put every token you need for your deck in your deck box with that deck, uh there's going to be that game where somebody hits you with a beast within and you just don't have a 3/3 beast because it's not part of your deck. So now you can just draw one up real quick, and you can either be an artist and actually do that, or you can be the kind of guy that's like me, that just writes the name and says that's all I'm going to do.
Occasionally, I make a
So
stick figure. That's about my artistic ability. So
I've seen some really cool shit online though, where people do actually get kind of crazy with how they draw them out, and it's cool to have that ability as well. Other than that, there's also stuff like alter sleeves, which I do have an affiliate link through. I'll put that in the show notes as well. Um, Generally speaking, you can go and some people like to get their actual cards painted on and altered. I think that that's kind of silly, because if you pay a lot of money for a card, it's worth a lot of money, and then you're kind of damaging it by doing so. So, I mean, unless it's something that you really treasure and you're going to keep forever, that's fine. But for me, Ultra Sleeves are a kind of a better alternative, in the sense that it's just a sleeve. It goes right over the OG card. You can have whatever kind of wild and crazy artwork that you have, that you want. I mean, obviously there's limited amounts of art to choose from for the cards that are there, and not every single card is represented. But there's a good chunk of cards out there that are popular enough that you want to get a sleeve. I have a couple dozen of them on various cards, and I think they add that spice to a deck, that you get the coolness of having something look completely different than it normally does, and you still know what it is, and it still doesn't damage the card. So for me,
I like
that's
it
kind of
too.
where it's at.
For me, it's a little bit about. I don't know if you've ever paid to have something custom done. Sometimes you get awesome results. I've done it on a couple of cards ever, literally just a handful. And sometimes you get really wild, amazing, beautiful stuff. And sometimes you get stuff and you're like, thanks, that's something. So at least with these, you know exactly what you're getting ahead of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and then there's stuff like this where I don't know how well it'll go through camera, but a buddy of mine does these where it's like foil peels,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a card that's not worth much, and then they take like part of the foil off of a land or other artwork, and they peel it off and somehow put it on there. He's got it's Elder Drunken Highlander. They've got videos of what they've done, but that was sent to me because they were doing it at a period where there was also like a charity stream, and I was part of the stream, and then I did a donation, and then so he the guys over there sent me that. So
Oh, very cool.
that's cool, but I also didn't like pay a fuck ton of money for a card and then send it to somebody to have them quote unquote ruin it, and then get it back and then be like, oh cool. So
Right.
uh I wouldn't do it with cards that were hundreds of dollars. If it's like a 50 cent fucking bulk rare, then who cares? That's totally fine. If it's your pet card that you can get a million times over, that's totally fine. But I think ultra sleeves are better if you're trying to protect your collection and also have the cool art. So it's an option. And then otherwise it's just stuff like Dragon Shield or Ultra Pro or Katanas. Like there's a billion different places where you can go get sleeves. There's a billion places you can go get cool dice. There's constantly advertisements all over the place, Etsy stores, yada yada yada. So I mean, there's a billion websites that we could point you in the direction of for product that will protect and or help you store and all of that. But we're not going to get into those too much, just because you know you'll find those on your own. Check Amazon, you search for sleeves, you'll find the stuff. That's not too difficult. We're hoping to point you in the direction of some stuff that maybe you don't know about, but then we're also going to touch on some stuff that's obviously pretty mainstream. So first and foremost, I think deck building websites are probably one of the most important resources for someone who's trying to play Commander or just any format really, and wants to have a good place rather than having to write it down, or you do a spreadsheet on your own computer. There's a bunch of different places that you can go to put down your list, get it right and tight, have some sort of description, have places where you can store multiple lists and kind of organize them and yada yada. So I mean, back in the day when I first started playing Commander or EDH, however you want to call it, pretty much the main one was Tapped Out, which if you have not seen that, it's not the most intuitive, and also one of the ugliest websites I've seen that produces, or like
Don't
allows you
hold
to do
back.
this
Tell us how
sort of
you
thing.
really feel, buddy.
I mean, it's awful. I don't think anybody should be using it anymore. It needed a visual update fucking 10 years ago, and it hasn't had it. So, and along the same lines, there's websites like Deck Stats that I also think is ugly, but it's great for setting up, printing out proxies. Like I recommend it for that. But as far as its deck building section, not great. What I settled on back then was the MTG Goldfish. I thought that their layouts were pretty decent. The ability to kind of organize your list a little bit was there, but it wasn't very fleshed out. Then along came Moxfield, and I know that there's other websites beyond Architect and this and that and the other thing, but Moxfield really knocked it out of the park. It's two guys, Harry, and I don't know who the other guy's name is. I apologize, but I've interacted with Harry a few times, and between the two of them, they're really good at customer service. They are constantly updating and adding new features to the website, and generally have been, really constructive members of the community as well. They're constantly, posting stuff on Twitter. And like I said, there's been times where I found a bug or I found something that wasn't working correctly, and I messaged Harry directly, and within an hour or two, the thing was fixed. So that goes without saying as being great.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. On the CEDH decklist database, when you're doing your submissions, don't they prefer Moxfield as one of the formatted sites to send it to them in? I don't. You would know more than I
They
on
did
that.
at some point change that. They didn't care, I don't think, immediately, but as the website grew in popularity, especially over the pandemic and stuff, I know that they made an announcement at some point where they said we're only accepting from like 2 or 3 websites, and Tapped Out was not one of them.
Yeah,
And
I'm a
then I
Moxfield
don't know if
user.
they've switched it since then, but I mean, I've been using Moxfield for a couple years. I actually support them on Patreon, to get it was a minimal donation for the ability to not have ads on the website, and you get a little badge that says I'm a level 2 supporter, yada yada. So
Yeah,
I paid, I think, for a year up front, because I was like, dude, I've been using this for a year, I love it, here's to the next year. And yeah, I mean, it's great because it's got so many ways to, change the information, as far as like, you can show, if you want just text, you can have that. If you want the pictures, you can have that. You can actually customize the way that they're displayed. So instead of it just being instance, you can have instance broken down into draw, removal, interaction, whatever you want to call it. You can have the additional information like the cost, the mana costs of everything on screen. You can have the price of the cards on screen. It's got individual buttons to just click and now buy those things from Card Kingdom. So many integrations between
very good.
other websites too. They're using price data from like TCG Player, Card Kingdom, other places. They've integrated with Scryfall, which is the next thing we're going to talk about, so I won't get into that. But just generally speaking, they're top end, top tier. I can't recommend them enough. And we're not sponsored, but we could be.
Hey,
You
that'd be all
let us
right.
know,
No, but
Harry.
seriously, Moxfield is it's. I don't even touch any other website for Magic when it comes to deck building myself. It's just easy. You can store any deck you want. You can keep them out there. You can make them viewable for the public if you like to get your ideas out there. Sometimes that's kind of a cool little endorphin hit. You put your list out there, people view it, it feels good, right? But it's also awesome. You can do editing right there. You can copy other people's lists if you want to have. If you're like, this is amazing, I want this. Copy it over, then make my own little changes. Super
Or just
super
compare your list
intuitive.
to somebody else's, so
Yeah,
that you can
absolutely.
see 1 to 1 what you're different than they are, and see
How much
why.
better yours is than theirs, or something. I don't know, but
Exactly.
and I'm with Ms. Lamb. Like it's just once I started using this one, I don't even mess with other ones. It's just so much easier. You can organize. I probably don't even use all of the potential that it has for collection, organization, and storage, and keeping track of all your stuff. I mean, there
Yeah, I
and
don't
like I
either,
said,
but it's there.
yeah, mine would take me an entire lifetime to input for crying out loud at this point. But it's amazing. I mean, it's just all the features they have, and it's free to use. It's insane. Like absolutely.
There's also the amazing playtest feature that
Mm-hmm.
allows you to goldfish yourself, but in this day and age, you can also capture that and use it through other programs and display it on the internet for other people to see. So it's like you're playing the deck and you don't own the cards. But we'll get
Mm-hmm.
into that detail a little more later as well. But it's just got so much going for it that I can't say that there's anything else that compares, and I don't know that there ever will be. So Next one, as I mentioned, there is integration with Moxfield here, but it's Scryfall, which it popped up within the last couple years too. I don't know exactly when, but once it got on my radar, I started using it, and it's become the way that I build decks. Now, I had this one listed separately, but I'm going to talk about it right now. The way I used to build decks, back when I first started, was EDHREC, which is a website that aggregates cards from pretty much all of the deck building websites into one spot, and then basically takes an average deck list out of those things using some form of AI, and then says these are the best cards in these categories for these things. So like the most common creatures, the most common instance, yada yada yada, for whatever particular commander you select. So in that case, and they've added other features, and it is more, I'd say, intuitive and a little bit more well-rounded at this point in time, but it's still just not as good when you're as enfranchised as I am. It was a website that we used for years to kind of, if you saw a new commander that you liked, you wanted to see what other people were doing with it because you weren't quite sure what direction to go. You could use EDHREC to kind of get yourself some ideas. But it wasn't like a primer and somebody actually telling you their reasoning behind anything. It's just kind of a cold dead algorithm that's telling you these are the most common cards used in these decks. And those people could be fucking wrong, but you're not going to really know that until you either test play it or your meta is different. You get what I'm saying. So Scryfall basically, for me, replaced that in the sense that it's more of a, you ask a question and it gives you an answer, rather than you ask a question and it gives you this blanket thing that isn't really pointed in the way that you want it to be. So for example, it's a search engine. So just like any other search engine, if you know the syntax and you can use it properly, you're going to get better answers to your questions. If you're a basic user, you can go there and just hit advanced search, and you can go, okay, my commander is these two colors, and I'm looking up instance only. I want to see what instance I can use in these colors for this commander. But then you're like, but I need it to be card draw. So you put, up in the one of the query boxes, blah blah blah, draw card. Okay, so you've done all that. You hit search, it pulls up whatever cards it can find in those colors that have draw a card on them, and that'll be creatures or enchantments or whatever. And then if you know more of the syntax, you can get really in depth and kind of find exactly what you're looking for. I'm not as much of an advanced user as other people I know. I've seen a lot of guys that use it for deck tech or deck building videos, and they've definitely got the syntax down a lot better than I do. But even just for a basic user, it's amazing. Like every time I build a new deck, my first thing is, okay, I've got this commander, and generally as a CDH player for a number of years, like I know what the strengths and weaknesses are of each color. So I will go through and be like, okay, well, I'm in Dimir, so of course I've got Consult, Thassa's, Tainted Pact. I know I have to do this certain land base. That takes care of 25 to 30% of your deck right off the bat. Then from there, it's like, okay, all the staple counters, all the staple tutors, all that shit. I don't need to ask somebody about putting those into my deck. But where it gets interesting is when your commander says, like, this commander cares about the toughness of your creatures. So then you can go in there and actually syntax it out to where it's like, its power is less than toughness, and you can find all the creatures that are big butts, and
right, you can sort it by
go from there.
Under CMC 2 or less or something like that. Exactly.
Right, you can get super specific if you know how to do it.
Yeah, but the beauty of it too, though, like you said, if you don't want to get through all that, click the advanced tab. There's a billion options in there to help you search and narrow down your search, and you'll do just fine finding cards through that as well. Scryfall is awesome. It's a great engine. It's actually, like you said, I think Moxfield uses it to look up their cards when they're
yes, it is integrated into that. Yeah. So if
something
that is one only downfall, is that if Scryfall is having some downtime, Moxfield will act like shit for a minute. But generally, they're pretty good about giving warnings about when they are going to do some sort of maintenance, and it's usually very quick.
And again, cry about a free resource. Come on, Jeez. One thing you did mention that we didn't even really talk about on Moxfield, just to back it up one really quick, the primer, the view primer option. You can look at other people's deck lists. If they've taken their time and written out a primer, then you can look at their ideas, their combo lines, their whatever whatever you want to put in their starting hands that are recommended or what you're trying to do. You can put whatever you want. For me, it's awesome if I'm brewing in CDH and I have 100 deck lists out there, I can go back to it really quickly if I've done my work, put my primer out there to at least tell me, here's my combo lines that can end the game. So I can get a quick refresher if I grab a deck I haven't dusted off in 6 months and kind of remember what I'm supposed to be doing. So
Yeah, I agree. And that kind of segue good into another couple of websites that we're going to talk about. The CDH database, which is it's kind of controversial at this point. There are, at least from what I've seen around social media and stuff, there's kind of a sect of people that are like, it is the end all be all. These are the best decks in the format, kind of deal. And then there's the opposite side that's like, and there's a billion other decks that could be better, and also their selection process is shit, and like that, of course, people doing something or providing a free service for everyone else to kind of be good for the community, and yet people still bitch. It is what it is. I guess I'm a little biased because I actually have a list on there, and I kind of pushed it on social media and other places. I was constantly trying to get people to look at my list, and like kind of grassroots got the most views on Moxfield at the time for that list, and it had the most comments and the most likes and blah blah blah. I'm not the most views anymore because when it did get selected on the database, there was 3 lists that got selected of the same commander, and mine was listed second. So I think that's just people click on the first link available most of the time. So whatever the case, it's still over 30,000 views, and it's my one of my proudest achievements, but also not something that I also recognize, like, it's not cloud farming. It's not like I'm not actually trying to do any of that stuff. It's just I'm proud of a list that I got that's on there. Whatever the case, controversy aside, it is the place that you go to get an idea about what CDH is. It's going to show you a multitude of decks that are considered meta and that you'll see more often than not. Now, granted, there's people like me and Kirk that also brew outlandish bullshit that still works. So there's a lot of that out there, and it's not going to be represented on the database. But if you're looking to get started and you see a commander that you're interested in, you can check this. And if there's a list that exists, you can go there. It'll take you to their Moxfield page, and then you can look at the primer and you can get an idea of what they were trying to do with it. And then you can change it and make it your own just by duplicating it and cutting some cards, adding some cards. So it's still a great resource, and I don't think that it should be discounted, but it's not also like the gold standard. It is just another website, and it is just another group of people with certain opinions. So not necessarily like the word of God.
Yeah, that's kind of where I fall on it also. I think it's an excellent resource to get some great ideas, see what other people have brewed and had success with. I mean, I don't know the specifics on the committee that reviews the lists anymore, but I'm sure there are people that are somewhat knowledgeable about the format, at least you would hope. And yeah, you get great ideas. You can see what other people might, if you're playing in a tournament, there's a very good chance you'll see some mashup of decks that are on that, at least several of them at every pod. So you'll get a good foothold on the deck or on the format in general, and then do your own thing if you're like us, if you're a brewer, or if you're not a brewer, you're just one hell of a player and you're like, I don't need to brew, I can take something that somebody else has thought processed out and play it better than they can, then go nuts, build their stuff and kick butt, man.
And it does serve both of those populations for sure. And like I'm saying, it's a good jumping off point. It doesn't have to be the end all be all. Most people that I've talked to that have like said they've played my Sithis list, they made changes. They were like, I didn't really like this, and I kind of want to put this in there. So it's not a big deal. And that's the same thing that most people do with any list. Is like, if you're not the first one there, you're still kind of copying somebody. You may not even be necessarily copying, but you came to the same conclusions because there's a limited car pool, and we've all been doing this for a while. If you're brand new, it's a great place to get started. You can straight up play a list and do it the way that they designed it for, and you're still going to be able to sit at a table and have a good time. So I think it's a worthwhile place to check out. But once you've been doing it for years, then you can kind of go, okay, this new commander's coming out, I see potential, and I'm going to use a combination of Moxfield and Scryfall to put this together. And then that's where you get this other resource. It's the Commander Spellbook, which is kind of a database of sorts, search engine sort of thing, but it's specifically for combos. And it doesn't necessarily have to be CDH either. It's just combos in general, any combos that have been found and have been submitted. For example, say you go Dockside Extortionist. You just punch that into the little search engine. It'll pop up with every possible Dockside Extortionist combo. However, it says it's from, X amount of lists play this combo and X amount this combo, and as it goes down the list, it gets a little more obscure. So I'm not exactly sure where they're farming the information from, or if it is submissions. But whatever the case, I found reliable combos in whatever colors I'm playing just by searching up certain things. So in conjunction with Scryfall, like Scryfall might lead you to cards you never heard of. This is another resource to lead you into things like combos that maybe you never heard of. But you're like, because I've had weird circumstances where I'm building something and I see this card and I'm like, yeah, that card, I know that card's a combo piece, but I can't remember what the fuck I do with it. So I search for it on the spell book, and then you get like, in these colors it does this, in these colors it does that, in these colors blah blah blah. So it's an invaluable resource, I think, too. And I think once you start combining some of these together, it really can help you wrap your head around things, help brew. But I mean, no matter what format you're playing, there is that learning curve, and it does get to a point where you're able to do these things a little bit easier. But at the beginning, it's kind of a lot to wrap your head around. I know switching over and playing competitive Pauper has opened my eyes to a lot of stuff that I never really thought about. I went into it going, well, I already know how to brew for CDH, so obviously I'm going to be able to brew for this. And the first couple lists I brewed didn't do very well, and they weren't good for that format because I didn't really understand what the staples were and what to expect from this deck or that deck. And once you get to know the meta a little bit better, then it's easier to deck build. So don't beat yourself up if you're not busting out the newest, greatest thing, the first time you try to build a deck. But a lot of trial and error, a lot of practice, you'll get there. And if it's a thing that you're passionate about, you'll figure out a way to make it work. I mean, I've built some dumbass decks that were just like, on paper, people would look at it and be like, why the fuck are you playing that? And I'm like, well, because I saw this line and I wanted to make it work, and I made it work. It's not consistent, but it does a thing once in a while.
Speaking of finding lines on that Commander Spellbook, two things I'd want to really, really mention. There is a combo submission button on the page. The more people that use it and more people to find cool interactive combos, the better it's going to get. So it's just going to keep getting better and better. Anyone listening to this, if you're smarter than us, great combos, put them in there. I mean, what's it going to hurt? It might help somebody else come up with something new. And they added a new feature we were talking about, as Lane and I were, the Find My Combo page, where you can literally copy your deck list,
right.
paste your deck list in there, and it'll scour through any known combos that have been submitted, and you can look through them. So there might be some secret tech in your own spicy brew you didn't even realize was in there.
So those are kind of the biggest websites that we're using right now to like kind of brew. And we did touch on how people who are getting started, like using the database, is kind of a good resource. There's a couple others that some of the community members have been trying to do to kind of like pool knowledge in one place. So one of them is it's cedh.guide. And that's Ken from Stacked EDH, and then some other people who have contributed and done some stuff. They're doing data collection, so that there's more of like statistics behind like the average win or average turn that people win in CEDH. And this is using empirical data from various online and or in-person tournaments, but then also like individual people who are submitting games just off their own pods. So there's never really been a lot of statistics that back up, this deck is more consistent and the best deck because X, Y, and Z, it wins the most, and yada yada. There's a lot of things you can break down given enough information. It's basically just a landing page where it'll point you in the direction of some of these websites that we're talking about now. But then some others as well. I'm not going to go any more in depth as far as to what it covers, but it is a good place to start if you are new to the format and you know zero anything. And I hope that some of these other websites we're pointing at you to are also going to help you, but it's not really written out for you. Those are all tools you have to kind of learn to use, and it can be overwhelming, whereas this is kind of more like, this is where you start. And there's a number of other content creators too. I know Playing with Power and Play to Win and Casually Competitive, like quite a few of the bigger names, especially for CEDH, have done some like introductory videos and like how to get into the format and yada yada. So I mean, there's resources out there. You just have to know where to look. And I think this is a good step in the direction of solidifying like a starting point for people, so that they can kind of figure out where they want to go and how to get into it. because I think most of us who've been playing for as long as I have or as long as you have, like we just kind of figured it out as we went. There was not
Right.
anything set out in front of us. It was like your friend told you about it, you did some research online, you kind of sort of learned something, and then you played, and then the more you played, the more you learned, and
And
everybody
then you
kind of
learned the
like
right way to
raised the
play after
bar
you
from
figured
there.
out your your house rules weren't the right
Right.
rules. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's stuff out there. There's another almost identical website too that was started by some of the guys that are big on the competitive popper side of things, which is a very similar format, just different rules, restrictions, but also a good way to use cards in your collection that you probably would never use otherwise. And it's the same website basically. It's cpdh.guide, and they've got some resources there. Includes links to uh, spoilers, my channel, because I do some of that stuff too. But it's the same idea, a pooled area where you can find various resources for that format to get started. So, I mean, for new players, that's probably the absolute best place. If you're a little bit more, seasoned, then you're going to want to use the Moxfield, the Scryfall, the database, the spell book, all those things. And then I think once you're really super enfranchised, then it's just a matter of you do most of it on your own, and you're just using these tools to help answer questions that maybe are on the fringes of your knowledge. But
Or a lot of times you can use them just to, once you have your sweet ideas all together, share them with the world. I mean, that's one of the biggest things I love about Moxfield. I love putting the lists out there, like, checking the view count just to say, hey, if people put comments on there occasionally or likes, you said, it's kind of neat to see that stuff, and you can interact with people that have looked at your, it's not your Wizards of the Coast created all this crap, but your puzzle piece that you put together and assembled, and people can either give you suggestions, tell you your list is dog shit, or tell you, hey, I like this. It's kind of cool.
mm-hmm.
I mean, they probably won't say dog shit. I think there's probably some kind of filtering in place, but they'll say you're, poopy doogie or something. Or they'll say it's great. I like this idea. How have you done this? Or why is this card in there? And you can interact that way as well. So,
Right. So we got a couple other things here to mention that I think will kind of intertwine a little bit. So the majority of people years ago, I mean, really the only way you played Magic online was to play Magic Online. Uh, there were there's other programs that have come along like Cockatrice or Tabletop Simulator where you can essentially play Magic without having to pay a dime, and all the stuff's there and blah blah blah, and that's cool. But it was all basically just a way to play online with friends or maybe just play with randoms. Whatever the case, it was not the same sort of experience as what you would get if you went and played cards in person. And I think the pandemic, so it happened before the pandemic, but the pandemic really pushed a lot of this stuff forward. And the biggest one to come out of that, because I know prior to, I was using stuff like Whereby, people used Zoom, they used other conferencing software, they played over Skype, whatever, and somehow, rigged their voice and rigged their cameras so that they could play. And early stuff that I saw was pretty awful. Even when I used to play Whereby, it was pretty awful. But we did it. We made it work. And that with a combination of Discord, where servers were starting to pop up, where people were getting together to making servers for the purpose of playing Magic together, and not necessarily doing it just with people you knew. So, I mean, if you did have a play group in real life, and then maybe the pandemic hit and you guys were just like, oh, well, let's play, but we won't play in person, we'll just play over webcam. I mean, I guess that's kind of where it started. And then eventually we got Spelltable. It was a completely independent project. Some guys decided to put it together, and essentially all it is where Whereby or any of those other things would put a box on your screen with individual boxes of each person's webcam view, which, for conferencing, we're doing what we're doing here with our faces, but with Magic, it was less so about your face and more so about your playmat with the cards on it, so you could essentially virtually play together without having to be in person. So, and then at some point it was sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. for a little bit. I want to say it was like a week. It was literally like hardly any time, because I was playing pretty damn regularly, and it was like it was nothing, and then all of a sudden there was a logo on the bottom, Cool Stuff Inc. blah blah blah. And then like right after that, somehow or another, Wizards of the Coast bought them out, and then essentially nothing has changed with it since then. The only thing that they did was if you click on your name and you click eliminated because you died in a game, it pops up with an advertisement: buy fucking Wizards products, Secret
Mhm.
Lair, Amazon, blah blah blah. So that's literally the only thing I can think of that changed since they took it over.
They added the coin flip and the dice roll and some other stuff. I think there's
Oh right, and yeah, the text log of, so you
yeah.
can
So
kind of see
there's
if
been
people
some
are cheating.
innovation still.
But I mean, honestly, like they were actually changing stuff pretty regularly, and it seemed like it was getting updates. There's still stuff that they could be doing to maybe push it forward, but it doesn't seem like they are.
Like the
Whatever the case,
biggest.
it is now a WotC product, but that's not why we use it. We use it because it's the best thing out there, in my opinion. It's got the 4
Absolutely.
players. It tracks your life totals. It has your player name. You can put in your commander so that anybody can mouse over it and look at it. The coolest thing of it is, as long as you've got a decent enough camera, your card can be on your playmat and someone can click on the screen on that card and it'll pop up with a preview on the side so you can see what the card is. Um, that was the thing that impressed me the most about it. But you can also just type that in on the side with a little search function that they have, so you can kind of keep track of what's on the field without having to like keep track as much, because it's a little bit easier when you're in person because everything's right in front of you. In this instance, you've got smaller views of everybody's play space and yada yada. So there are some limitations, but for the most part, it's the closest thing you can get to playing with other people in real life without being together in real life, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I've got some interesting insight into this too. So, and not only, by the way, when you search up the card and you can get the little preview and see what it is, you can also click on it and it links you to the Gatherer, so you can see Oracle text and everything like that too. So you can see the most updated rulings on them, whatever. Um, the other
That can
really
be
cool
important.
thing,
Yeah.
yeah, the other really cool thing I like, and maybe I'm alone in this, and this is something that it bothered the hell out of me for years because I've been playing in an in-play group for EDH for like ever since 2009, I want to say it was, and before that we would get together and play 60 card or sealed ever since like 2007. So I've been playing in an in real life group for a long friggin' time. You'd sit down to a game of Commander, right? You'd sit down, you'd playing game night, whatever, 6 7 hours, whatever it would be. You'd sit at your spot. That was your spot. You didn't get up and move seats very often, so you were pretty much right where you were. The player to your left was probably the same player to your left. You could easily get up and switch spots or whatever. Nobody did that I'm aware of. I mean, think about it back to your playing experience. Did you guys roll a dice to figure out player order and then randomly move around the
Yeah.
table? No, because you'd have to
No.
freaking move your playmat, move your dice, move your crap. The best thing about
Yeah.
Spelltable, you click a button, it randomizes the order. It's glorious. That's my favorite feature of it. Besides being obviously everything else, just that's a little
That
nice
is
little
cool.
touch. I love that about it.
So, I mean, honestly, it is the best place to play, in my opinion. And I think that segues pretty good into some of the other. So, obviously, we were talking about Discord being a premier place to be using this. Most places, so like, we'll use my server for example. Like, I started the server around the same time I started the channel because I wanted a place for people who either wanted to play with me or were my friends, and or both, and or just random people who happen to enjoy the content might want to come and play with other like-minded people. uh Started it up. I've left it open. I know a lot of content creators will do the thing where it's like locked behind a paywall from Patreon or whatever to get into their server. I thought that was counterintuitive. I wanted to build a community. I don't want them to have to pay for it. If they want to give me tips, that's great, but if they don't, I still want to play with them. That's fine. I'm not going to tell you you have to fucking pay me to come play on my server. That just seems silly. But maybe it obviously it's working for some of those people because they still have servers. So either way, it is kind of goes hand in hand with Spelltable. It was always, we use the audio on Discord. We have dedicated channels there for playing cards, and then we'll start up. I've actually got the bot. There's an integration. You can put Spellbot on your Discord, and then use a /LFG command to queue up in your LFG chats and let whoever is there that may want to play, they can join up right there and you get a game going. And then it creates the Spelltable link and everything for you. Boom, 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 you're done. You're already in the auto. You're already bullshitting, waiting for the fourth to join. The fourth joins, the game starts, you pop in, you play. um beyond that, there's a couple other programs that people who do content creation are going to be interested in, and that's OBS and Streamlabs. At least those are the ones that I use the most. But those are pretty much for creators. It's for streaming. It's for all of that. So we're kind of approaching this from a newer player perspective. So that's not something you're going to be doing right off the bat. However, having OBS on your computer, even as someone who doesn't do content creation, is still worthwhile because you can do a variety of things. So, for example, the webcam that I'm using to capture my playmat, it has a wide angle or whatever you want to call it. It has a particular field of view by default. You can't change it. There's no software that came with it. You can't change it whatsoever unless you actually have OBS and you open OBS and then you go into the properties of the camera and then zoom it in so that your playmat is taking up more space of the camera's view and things like that. So just on a bare minimum, that is something that will be helpful for you in the future. But if you're the kind of player that doesn't necessarily want to proxy or doesn't necessarily want to buy a deck every time they have a new idea and they want to test something out, you can use the Moxfield playtest function in conjunction with OBS and thereby capture your window that's in your browser and put it into the Spelltable window so that it looks like the same as if you were using your playmat. And then there's green screen and a lot of other advanced features that you can get into later on down the road to make it look fancy. But in the case of, you know, being able to just play a deck, so this has been my process back in the day was buy cards, build deck, play deck. Deck sucks, take it apart, and now I have all these cards and I don't know what to fucking do with them. Some of them will eventually find homes, but some of them are specific to that commander and they're just trash now. I mean, they're not trash because they still cost something, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it becomes this never ending cycle of I build decks and they're not as good as I thought they would be. And now half of the cards are just sitting in a box and that was a waste of money. Why the fuck did I do that?
Yeah, suddenly you have a tiny, tiny little artwork collection growing in boxes somewhere, basically. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then like the next step of the process was like, okay, well, I, I'm going to proxy. So like I'm going to print out pieces of paper and put them in sleeves over the top of regular Magic cards just to make this work. And I still do that to some extent, but I was doing it. So initially it was buy all the cards, find out it sucks, be sad. Then it was proxy all the cards, find out it sucks. Well, now I've got to take all this shit out of sleeves, throw it away, and then do it again. Still more effort than I really want to put out. At this point, my process is I like an idea, I brew it on Moxfield. I use the playtest function. I use it through OBS. We then go on to Spelltable. We then get a game together. I play with that deck, and I play it a lot of times. And then eventually I find out, hey, I love this deck. It's great. I did it recently with Tivit. I've been playing it digitally. It's done the thing that I want it to do. I really love it. I'm going to put it together in paper now. But if I would have just bought all the cards, paid like $500 for whatever, you know, bullshit I needed, that's not counting the super expensive staples and things that I would just proxy anyway because I'm not buying multiple copies of. It's like you're out the money, you're out the effort, and if it sucks, it sucks. So rather than do that, if you want to see if Magic's for you, and because you've never played it before, don't go out and buy a bunch of cards. Don't go out and buy a bunch of sealed product. You're just wasting your money. Do a couple things, figure it out. It's not too difficult. Google will help you. And you can test all this shit for free. And if you like it, then spend the money. If you don't like it, hell, you might not even like Magic at all. Maybe it's better that you find some other hobby.
You're probably not listening to our podcast then, but hey, who knows?
I mean, it
You
is
never
what it
know.
is. There's still obviously whales out there that are financing everything for most of us anyway. I mean, those Commander Masters, like $400 a box, like you're out of your fucking mind. So there's people out there that are gonna do that and whatever. My advice to anyone who's listening who's newer to the format or just newer to Magic in general is definitely take the free option, check it out, try it, see if you like it. If you do, great. Then spend some money. And there's no harm in that. You're not hurting anything. Like playtest cards are legal per Magic policy anyway. You're legally allowed to print out whatever the fuck you want and play with it in the comfort of your own home. You may not be able to go and play with it at your LGS, depending on who the people are you're playing with and blah, blah, blah. But generally, the online community does not care. They do not want to play against your wallet. They want to play against you. So brew away, brew to your heart's content, and use the tools that are out there to do it for the least amount of money possible and the least amount of effort. Because who the fuck wants to build a deck and do all of that and then just hate it? Like,
Play it
I don't want
twice
to do
and
that anymore.
Be like, this is poop. Throw it away.
I've done it too many times over the years. I don't want to do it again.
Another little piece just to kind of talk about OBS and some of the stuff it can do. One of the really cool things it does, even playing on Moxfield or playing using playtest with Moxfield, or as if you see any of his lane streams he does, you can also add a second camera to where you can see your face. So you can see your face while you're playing and see your playmat. You know, your little head superimposed on the corner of your mat somewhere so people can see you while you're playing, and it also kind of adds to the feeling of almost being like you're playing in person, which is really cool. And again, OBS is free, so no reason not to try it out and play around with it, and it's kind of cool. And if you have kids, you're like us and you're old guys and you have kids, they probably know more about computers than you anyway, so just go ask for their help.
Yeah, I mean, honestly. And to make a point with the face cam thing, for me initially it was like, I don't want to show my face because I don't necessarily want to be that public and that forward facing. But then I realized like fucking everyone is doing it. So it just came to a point where I was like, yeah, fuck it. But also to your point too, like I'm not set up right now to do it, but you could be in a position where you're holding your cards here and they can see your playmat at the same time. So they can like literally see you take it from your hand onto your playmat. So it does give more of that immersion to a degree. And if you play with some of the same guys regularly, it does kind of become like your LGS group, you know? So
yeah, if you're like me and it's 0 degrees outside, you don't feel like going out and trying to start your car, hey, you can play against people without leaving the comfort of your home. So
you can also drink a beer. You can also have your own music playing in your headphones in the background.
You use your own bathroom.
If you smoke, and you smoke in your house or whatever, I don't know, like you do you, but yeah, there's a lot of benefits to it. And also if you're someone like me, like I at some point had an in real life play group. I did have like an LGS that I used to go to and do pre-releases and things. Currently, I don't. There's 2 stores in town where I live that sell Magic cards, but neither of them are WPN, so they don't do pre-releases. They don't do anything sanctioned. So they're basically useless to me. I go in there once in a while and buy cards, but that's about the extent of it. So if you don't have an LGS, this is the way to have an LGS to some degree. And there's Discords revolved around like subreddits and other communities. PlayDH is a big one. The r/cdh Reddit server is another big one if you want to play comp. There's the Nexus. There's a billion content creators like myself that are bigger or smaller that have their own little individual servers where people play. My server gets generally most weeks there's at least a game a day. Most of the time it's because I'm out there trying to play games, but there's still days where I don't
play against his lane, the man himself. That's what I did. So
that's all it takes. That's all it takes.
That's right. I mean, the other cool thing too, like you said, if you don't have an in life play group that you can go and play against, or an LGS that's local, or if you're like me and you have friends or family members that you live states apart now, you grow up, you move, life happens, but you still want to jam cards against them. That's honestly what started me playing on Spelltable, because I have a brother who lives in a different state. I miss playing cards against the guy. I miss crushing him and getting crushed by him. So I thought, well, let's figure something out. And about that same time, Spelltable rolled out. Well, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, I had just moved, and it was prior to Spelltable, but I had just moved and didn't have anybody to play with. I was still buying cards, but like didn't know what to do with them. And somebody told me about one of those Discord servers and was like, hey, you can get on there, you use these different softwares, blah, 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 and you can play. And I was like, cool. I immediately ordered an arm and a webcam and was like, I'm going to try it out. Played a couple games. That's actually how I met, if you watch the channel, he's on all the time, Joey. I met him in like late 2019, and then it was like right after the pandemic hit, and then we were playing all the time, and I met other guys, and a lot of them were on my server, and that kind of became my little home group. and we've played together ever since. Like, it's been off and on. Like, some of them have taken little hiatuses where they didn't really play too much, and I even kind of had like a 6 month period where I didn't play too much either. But we're still there, and it's still whenever everybody can get back together. It's a great time.
Yeah,
And
it's
being
really
able
cool
to
being
just
able.
play on a whim, you don't have to wait till Friday night to go play FMM. You just play on a random fucking Tuesday at 8 p.m.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. I
so
mean, you could jump on at any hour of the day and find games. I mean, I'll jump on if I'm being a night owl and I'm up at 3 a.m. in the States. I'll jump on and I'll play against people that are waking up over in Australia or playing. I don't know what the time difference is, but they're always on when I'm on late. So maybe they're getting off work. I don't know. But I played against people from other countries, all over the U.S. I mean, everywhere, and it's just really awesome. It's a way
mhm.
to meet new people. You get to meet people that have a similar interest that you have, playing Magic, and obviously they've got a setup they can play online. You know, trade Discord information, or whatever, and get together and play games again. It's super awesome, man. It's free
Yeah, I mean,
and
it's no
cheap. It's
different than
free. It's great.
what a lot of us did with online video games over the last couple decades, with like MMOs, World of Warcraft, EverQuest, shit like that. People that you never would have ever met or ever interacted with from all over the world. It was the same sort of experience. Now this is just doing the same thing but with cards, and
Yep.
notably, probably a smaller percentage of people out there playing Magic as opposed to playing video games, but it's still kind of a virtual community that's worldwide. So you can definitely connect with a lot of different people. I mean, this podcast wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for me randomly running into a guy and playing Magic with him, and then him telling Kirk to be like, "Hey, come join this guy's server," and then Kirk basically uh throwing down weird brews over and over again, and me eventually being like, "Hey, do you want to play on the channel? Because you always brew weird shit, and I want to see it." And then, hey, here we are. So
Yep.
you know, it's crazy.
That's
But
how
if
we
you
got
open
here. It's
yourself up to it, you
California
can you
to
can find a lot of cool shit.
it's a California to Wisconsin and Nebraska connection, and I've never met his lane obviously in person. So, but here
Yeah,
we are.
we may someday at some point, but it is one of those things. I've talked to a few guys that I've played with regularly where we've talked about trying to meet up at a con someday. So, and there's cons all over the country. So someday maybe we will.
Heck yeah.
Until then, we're gonna play online and we're gonna enjoy it. So I
Same
think that
here.
kind of wraps up basically the main part of this first point. I think the next point that we were going to talk about, I think I'm going to let you run through with this introduction, just because you are not necessarily more tech savvy, but just tech savvy in a different way, I suppose. You're like the tech guy that likes gadgets and whatnot. So
I
I
fiddle
guess
with stuff. That's a
what it
nice
is
way to
basically
say
is
it.
we wanted to talk about how to set up and or improve your setup for playing online, now that we've kind of led into all the different resources to get to where you're actually playing online. Now, what can we do to make it better?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we'll probably do is throw some links in the chat for some of the products we can talk about. And we're not going to go too in depth about specific products, but the biggest thing, you need a webcam of some type to play. Obviously, you can use a cell phone; it works. I don't personally like it because sometimes I'm using my cell phone for Discord, or if I'm getting texts, or I don't want to have my cell phone mounted on my camera and then take it down, because I like to leave my setup in place so I can just jump on and not have to fiddle with it. But you'll need a webcam. It doesn't have to be
If you're
expensive. I
gonna
mean,
use it, sorry, not to interrupt you, but
you're
if
good.
you are gonna use a phone camera, don't use your primary phone where it's going to be ringing and you're going to get phone calls and text messages, and it could potentially get fucked up in the middle of you trying to play. If you got an old cell phone hanging out and you can manage to make it work, that's fine. But I still
Yeah.
would recommend getting a webcam because it's just always going to be better quality.
Yeah,
Continue.
and they're not crazy expensive. I mean, like his Lane and I were talking when we first started. He bought an inexpensive webcam. I bought, I don't know, 4 or 5 different cheap webcams to try out, and I can tell you the biggest thing. I mean, there's Canon, or the what is it, Logitech C920 is one of the
I
most
don't remember
popular
what the
web.
model was, but I started with a Logitech and it was literally $30. Like, it
Yeah,
was
and
nothing fancy. It
you
was
don't have to buy anything
1080p.
crazy. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I've got, I don't even know how many webcams through the years I've tried out, but yeah, you don't have to buy anything crazy expensive. The webcams that Islaine and I use now are a little more expensive. They're a little better quality. They're a little higher quality, whatever you want to say, but it's not necessary. You can get by with a $30 webcam just fine. I personally like manually focused webcams. I know they're rare. Most webcams come with autofocus because They're meant to set up and take your, you go back and forth and they focus on you. But it's really annoying when a hand flashes underneath to play a card and the camera loses focus and it focuses on your hand. So turn off autofocus if you have an autofocus webcam. The other thing about it, I've seen, and if you played on Spelltable at all, you've seen, and you know what we're talking about when you say you've seen good setups, you've seen amazing setups, and you've seen terrible ones. The biggest difference, try and have your web camera positioned directly above your playmat, looking straight down. It makes it
which requires an arm.
Exactly.
And it makes it not even a big deal. Like, you can get them $10-15 at most. You can buy almost any generic boom stand and it will work for your webcam.
Absolutely. We'll throw a link in the group chat, or in the link to this video. We'll find a cheap one on Amazon and throw it out there so you can see what we're talking about. And they'll position it so where you can look straight down. The click function where you can click on a card and it'll recognize it, will work infinitely better if you're looking straight down on the object than if you're mounting your webcam on top of your monitor and it's at a weird angle. And sometimes, and I'm sure you've played enough online as Lane that you've seen it. I don't need to see you sitting in your chair in your boxers playing the game. Please, just have your webcam above your playmat, looking straight down. Use a cheap arm, anything. Yeah.
The like, you're using your laptop camera and you got your laptop kind of halfway folded so that it's a weird 3/4 angle. And also, to that point, especially with Moxfield, lighting is a huge thing. Lighting makes
absolutely
a big difference. If you have an overhead, I do right here. There's an overhead light with a ceiling fan. Where I'm positioned now, it doesn't pick up, but where I was positioned before I rearranged my office, it would pick up off it wasn't even necessarily that there was glare, but just whatever light was reflecting off of my sleeves would pick up that rotation of the ceiling fan. And that's just distracting for people. But then also, glare in any part of your playmat, it makes it not only impossible for people to see, but it makes it impossible for people to pick up off of the Moxfield card finder. So keep in mind that your lighting should probably not be directly above, because that's going to reflect directly into the camera. You're going to want lighting from the side, from the back, from ambient areas. Those ring lights are pretty good at diffusing, but there's also, you can see in the background here, I've got a big light with a diffuser box on it. A lot of those different things can affect the quality for sure.
And I use it, like, I don't know, in my personal setup, I think I've got six different lights set up. Not a single one of them points directly down at my playmat. They're all bouncing off the walls, honestly, or going out, and they're diffused. Yeah,
more lights do help too. The extra lights do help to diffuse some of the glare as well.
Yep, and it'll get rid of some of the noise because you won't have your camera ISO. And anyway, that's another topic for another day maybe. But yeah, but lighting, super important. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can buy a cheap desk lamp and just bounce it off the wall that's behind you or off to the side. Just don't shine it directly down on your playmat, because that's, like you said, light bounces. It'll go down and it'll go straight up in your webcam and you won't be able to see it.
And it goes whatever angle you point it at. So if it's at a 35-degree angle or a 90-degry angle or whatever, it's going to bounce at the exact same angle. So you have to think about where your light is in proportion to where your camera is and your playmat. So I would show you, but obviously we're using different webcam. But if you look at any of the videos Kirk's been in on my channel, or you can see mine pretty much every week, you'll see that there were times where I had bad or worse lighting, where I did have some glare in spots and whatever, and learned over the course of time. But Kirk's has been flawless every time I've ever seen it. There's never glare, there's never anything, and it looks perfect. And that's the kind of setup that we would prefer most people had. But obviously, if you're just getting started and you're just trying this for the first time, you're not going to want to spend a fuck ton of money. We're not recommending that you do. Somebody just said, I saw a quote earlier on Twitter where somebody said that, your content, and this was directed at content creators, but it was basically like, upgrading all of your equipment doesn't make your content better. Make your content good first and then improve it with the other tech. And the same thing goes for, in this example, you're not a content creator, you're just somebody who's trying to play. But if you want to make the experience better for everyone else, make it easier for them to understand what cards you're playing, what they can see. Same goes for audio. You don't necessarily have to have a good mic. You don't have to have a top end microphone or a top end headset or whatever, but at least make it to where people can understand what you're saying. and
Mhm.
test all your settings before you get online. Don't be in the middle of a game. Well, now we're getting into etiquette. Let's
Mm.
let's take a step back
We'll
there. But
pump the brakes on that for a
audio
minute.
does play a part in this improving your setup, and in the
Absolutely.
sense
And
of like you need to have something that's a little bit better than nothing at some point, because you're not going to have too many people wanting to play with you when you're using a cell phone microphone and a cell phone camera and blah blah blah. So
and even then, even some of the cell phone cameras or cell phone mics, or even the webcam mic, they'll work. They'll work just fine, especially if it's on a boom arm where it's positioned where it's only, a foot in front of your face or something. It'll pick you up decent. They don't sound great. They don't sound amazing, but they'll work. Uh, Obviously, you can upgrade to more expensive microphones. If you do something like a more expensive mic, like his Lane's got on his or mine, um, where you mount it matters. How you mount it matters. I know this is going into different crazy stuff. There's things like look up pop filters, that look up shock mounts, things that can help stop the sound transmitting through it. They're little things, and we can
and
link
if
some of the
you're in a
stuff on
small
here.
room, there's the deadening stuff you can put on your walls and things to help improve your audio quality. But for the layman, you don't need all of that. A $30
Exactly.
webcam will do. And on just having a gaming headset, and it doesn't even have to be an expensive one. There's gaming headsets that are like $50 out there, and it's no name brand, whatever, but it has a microphone that comes off the headset. You can hear it, whatever. That's fine. You're gonna find ways to improve your setup as you go along. You're gonna find things that you're not happy with, that you want to improve, and that's fine. And we can kind of provide some links here to stuff that you might want to get when you're in that intermediate stage where you're past the cheapest thing possible just to see if I like it. And now you're like, I want to spend a little bit of money. I mean, there's Blue Mics, there's HyperX, there's other gaming companies, there's Logitech, yada yada yada, and then there's
Yep.
the actual audiophile stuff like Shure or other companies that I can't think of off the top of my head that are more,
Sennheiser and all the other, exactly.
professional sounding and whatever, but not
Right.
necessarily the thing that you need. You're just playing some cards with friends, but we also don't want our friends to have to suffer through just shitty looking video and shitty
Shitty
sounding audio.
sounding,
I should
shitty
be able to
looking. Yeah.
understand what you're saying and like
Yeah.
see what you're doing. And sometimes that does come down to latency, and not everybody has the best internet depending on the country or the part of the country or whatever. So I get that there's always going to be some variance there, but trying to improve it to a point where it's easier on everyone is probably worth your while, especially if this is something you're going to do long term. I mean, you're
And
not
it
going to know
doesn't.
that until you start doing it. So
Right. And it doesn't take a big monetary investment to make them pretty damn good. I've got a bunch of friends I've helped set up with Spelltable that for a literally $50 we can get them webcam mount and a headset, and they'll be rocking and rolling, and they'll look better than probably 60% or better of the people I see play on there. It's all about just taking a little bit of time, having a little bit of pride in what you're doing, is a weird way of saying it, but just make it look decent. Just set it up ahead of time, like as Lane said. Get a little practice with it, kind of have an idea what you're doing. Check once you get it where you have it. Put your dang card on the playmat, slide it around, and see if you have any hot spots from lights. That's something you can do about. You can turn a lamp a different way, or turn a lamp off, or whatever it is. Just do your best to make it look better. And just as we talked about, we'll throw some links and some of the gear and stuff in the comments, or however his Lane edits and adds this stuff magically. But none of this stuff, we're not sponsored by any of it. Unfortunately, I'd love to get free gear. I'm a giant tech nerd. I would absolutely love it, but this isn't. We're not doing this because we don't get paid for any of it. We're doing it just to kind of give you guys ideas of what's out there that could make things better and a more enjoyable experience for you and for the people you're playing against. Big deal.
yeah, I mean, because like a good example, when I first started playing, I had a buddy that was not employed at the time. He had his cards were right and tight. Like his card, he had a collection for years, so his cards were great. So there was no complaint there as far as like he didn't have good cards or good decks to compete with us. The issue was that he was using a cell phone and just like, ah man, it was bad. And like I had a hard time like telling him like, bro, like just spend $30 on a webcam. Come on, man, like skip that case of beer and fucking buy a webcam. You'll be fine, and like we'll all thank you for it, because it was bad. Like, it was just super blurry and super just like hard to tell what he was doing. But you could hear him, so you could hear what he was saying, and you knew what cards he was saying he was playing. But it was like very hard to tell if he was actually like what he was actually putting on the board and stuff. And it was just like, man, I can't play. I can't play with you, dude. And I've had that with even, sad to say, even some of the guests that I've had come onto my channel. It was surprising like how bad some of their setups were, and it wasn't necessarily that it was just a lack of having the pieces. It was more just, I don't know if it was just their internet or what, but I've had lots of technical issues over the years from, doing this with so many different people, where it's surprising, because I didn't know what I was doing when I started, and I just bought what I thought would work, and it worked. And it was just like, I did minimal investment. It was like $10 for an arm, $30 for a webcam, and I had already had a gaming headset because I played video games with friends online. Now, granted, the headset was like $150, so that's a little pricey, but you can get cheaper ones. I just had a good one because I was a gamer, and that's what I already had. So transitioning over was pretty easy. If you were a gamer now, you probably already have everything you fucking need to do this, because you don't need a standalone mic. You can have a headset mic, and you just need a shitty webcam. And there's no name, made in China, $20, $30 webcams that'll do exactly what you want them to do. The camera looking at my face right now does not have a brand. I told my mom I wanted a second fucking webcam for Christmas, just for working on content. I was like, I already got one. I just need another one. Mom, get me one. I don't care. Just buy a cheap one. I got some random Chinese Amazon. It works fine. It does the thing. I'm clear. Like, you can see me. There's no issues. You can see all the shit in the background. Like, it's not too difficult to do. So if you want to do this long term, or not even necessarily long term, but if you just want to do this and have a good time and make it easier for everybody, you just spend a couple bucks. It's less than you're going to spend on a box of cards.
Absolutely. For sure. And it'll make your experience better. It'll make people that play against you have a much, much better time. Believe me, I don't want to be a setup snob, and I'm not. I'll play against anybody at any time, but it's a hell of a lot more enjoyable when I can look at my computer screen and see and hear you clearly. So
yeah, it's just attention to detail. And like you said, it's kind of a take pride in what you're putting out there. So if you're going to do it, you might as well do it. Even if you're not going to do it to like the highest level, at least do it to a decent level.
So the gaming headset that I started using when I started playing on Moxfield, because I'm not a gamer, as Lane and I talk about this for video games and stuff. So I just went on Amazon, read a bunch of reviews, found a cheap one that I thought would work, and it was like $25, and I still use it when I travel, and it works great for that. If it depends on where I'm traveling. If I'm traveling in like a sketchy motel or something, I have a really, really crappy set I'll bring that if I have to leave, I don't care if I leave it behind. But if I'm traveling, there's a set that I have it was like $25 that I still use to this day, and it's comfortable and it works great, and it's got a mic. You don't have to spend a bunch of money to even upgrade that stuff. So anyway,
I mean, shit, like years ago, I remember one of my buddies like had an Xbox 360, which we're going back like over a decade at this point. But the thing that they used to sell that was Xbox approved, one earphone, and came over, and then mic. It wasn't even stereo sound, and that was considered okay by like a major gaming company's standard. So you can get something shitty like that and it'll still work. So like you can also use earbuds, like the ones that you would use on your phone that have a little shitty mic. Those work fine too, because you've had a conversation over the phone with somebody that's using that and it was fine, right? So it'll work the same. So like you literally don't have to spend much at all. Wish.com,
that is one big thing though. I will say, and this is the segue that we're going to use to go into our next topic, which is Spelltable etiquette. Please. There are setups, and I recognize that it can be done where you don't have to wear a headset and you won't hear echo. It's not easy to do. Most people can't or won't figure it out. Please just wear any kind of headset, earphones, earbuds, something, so we're not hearing ourselves echo back over there, and that really makes for an awful experience. That's one of my biggest pet peeves on Spelltable, 1,000%.
That is something that we could point out for newer people too. If you're on Spelltable and you're using something else, so Spelltable by itself is standalone. You can go on Spelltable, and they actually added a feature at some point where you can just queue up for games that like they have games that are somebody has started, and you can just go join randomly. So like that
Mhm.
is another source to find games if you like. And a lot of times, because they're there just using Spelltable has built-in audio and voice, so you can use just Spelltable's audio. It's really shitty quality. It's not, if you have a good mic or whatever, it's not going to help that along. It's very bare bones. There's no settings, no nothing, but it's there. Most of us use Discord because if you're on a server like mine where it's been boosted, you get higher quality bit rates for video and audio and stuff like that. So it's just generally better. So if you're playing on somebody's Discord, 90% of the time you're going to be using Discord audio. And Spelltable has a feature where you can mute your microphone. So the general practice now is everybody mutes on Spelltable and they use Discord audio. I've actually gone an extra step. I've muted the site through Chrome so that there's never an issue where I'm getting any sort of echoing. Thankfully, that they that's something you can do. But so there end of the day, there are instances where you may end up having to use Spelltable's audio, and there shouldn't be any sort of echoes outside of what you were pointing out. The people not using a headset, using their speakers to get it. The only way that really works is if you can set up push to talk, and in that instance, you have to be using Discord because Spelltable doesn't have any feature like that. So if you're using Discord, you can set it up to where it's push to talk, so that they're only going to hear your voice when you're talking. But the problem is if you push to talk at the same time somebody else is talking, you're still going to get that feedback, and that's just it's not good for anybody. Definitely, that is a big etiquette thing. Mute your Spelltable, use your Discord audio, and use a headset so we don't have to hear anybody else's feedback.
Yeah, and actually, I play a ton of games with just random people. I'll jump on Spelltable and use the Spelltable audio, and I don't have a problem with it. I'm not a huge, I think it's improved over what it used to be, so I think it's okay. You can do a lot of your mic settings and stuff in your software on your computer if you're tech savvy for all that junk. But for the love of God, don't put on a headset, put on earbuds, put on anything where I'm not hearing myself talk over the computer, an echo effect. It will make me say, thanks, that was a good game, I'm out, and I'll leave. Because I
mean, it's very distracting when you hear yourself back. Even shit, like I was in a punk band for a while, and then like I used monitors, a monitor speaker, so I could hear that I was coming through. I mean, even that was distracting sometimes, and it's real time. It's not delayed at all. It's immediate feedback as soon as you say the thing, and that can still be distracting. The only good part of that is that you have all of these live instruments right behind you. They're loud as fuck, so you can barely tell if your voice is coming through. So that does help you, and it's a completely different situation. But when you understand the way audio works like that, it makes it to where you're like, yes, I don't want people to hear that because they're trying to talk and they're hearing themselves back, and it's fucking weird. Because you have that whole like you can hear your own voice inside your own head, and it sounds different when you hear it coming back to you, so that's distracting. And then it's also your echo coming back. It's just way too many distractions, and nobody needs that because Magic is already complicated enough.
No doubt.
With that said, also be mindful of your background noise, and this is where push to talk can be a good thing, in the fact that if you are in a noisy situation, if you're set up, so I'm fortunate that I'm older and I'm more established. I have a separate room for my computer where I game and or produce these episodes and yada yada. So like I have a separate space from the main living area so that there isn't a constant influx of noise right here next to me. But I understand that like you might be a kid, you might still be living at home, or a early adult and you haven't moved out of the house yet. Your computer is in the front room where your parents are watching TV right next to you. I get
you're
it.
In college,
those things exist,
or you have roommates in general. You're in apartments, whatever. You're in an apartment complex, and there's loud ass neighbors above, below, beside, whatever.
Well, that, and then like once you get on a mic like this, it picks up every fucking little noise ever outside in the neighborhood. The dog barking, the kid crying next door, picks up every fucking little thing. So that makes sense, and that's where most of them have a mute function. I have a mute button right here, and you'll see me doing this periodically through games or on even this podcast where I mute it because I'm going to cough or whatever. And those are things that you should do normally. And My last headset that was wired, this one's a wireless, but the wired one that I had actually had a mute button on it. So when I didn't have this mic and I used the mic that was attached to the headset, it had a mute button. So if I knew I was about to sneeze, I would mute myself and sneeze so that nobody had to fucking hear that. Because why do you want to hear that? And it's just like if you're talking on the phone to somebody or you're talking to somebody in real life, you say, "Excuse me, I'm about to fucking sneeze or burp or fucking whatever, and I'm gonna do that, and then we're gonna get back to what we're talking about." So if you're gonna have that conversation in front of somebody, or you're gonna be talking to your friend on the phone and there's shit in the background, you're like, "Oh, excuse me, give me a second, let me get away from this noise." So that's where you can do the push to talk to where nobody's gonna hear it except for when you're talking. Now, granted, you can't control every single facet of every noise that's going to be going on around you. So we're not trying to tell you that you need to have a perfectly silent, office or sound booth or whatever to where you're going to play your game. But just be mindful of stuff that's going on around you. Even with a headset on, I can hear when there's noises going on behind me. I can tell when, somebody's raising their voice or the dog's barking or somebody's grinding something across the fucking street or lawnmowers are going on or whatever. Like, that's happening. Only let the audio come through when you're talking and then mute the rest of the time, or again use the push to talk feature.
Yeah, for the love of God, don't eat chips on right in front of your microphone while I'm trying to play Spelltable against you. It happens. People will just
It's understandable if your buddy's like,
like,
"Hey, I got dinner coming," whatever, but just mute yourself. It's
just
not that
mute
hard.
yourself. Seriously, people, come on.
And you can take it with OBS and stuff we've talked about. Like, I do it on my own channel while I'm streaming. I've had times where I was like, "Yeah, it's coming up on dinner time, and I'm about to eat, but we're playing." So I'm like, I actually made a graphic that goes over my camera so that people can't see me fucking shoving my face. And you just pop that up while you're doing your thing, and everybody else goes along with the game, and it's fine. It's just, I mean,
common
it's a
courtesy,
definition of
honestly.
etiquette. It's common courtesy towards anyone else that's playing. Like, they don't want to see you eat. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear your wife yelling at you. They don't want to hear your kids crying. They don't want to hear the fucking dog barking. They don't want to hear the neighborhood's fucking chainsaw going. So as much as you could do to cut that out, the better.
Honestly, and all of that stuff, I mean, besides the eating, some of it you can't control, and we get that, obviously. But some of it's so easy. I don't want to hear whatever the hell music you're listening to in the background of your house at all. I listen to my own music. For the love of God, play iHeartRadio, Spotify, whatever the hell you're listening to through your headset.
Just make sure it's going through your earphones and at a lower level so you can hear what's going on.
I can't even tell you the number of times I've been playing with somebody and I'll pause and be like, "Oh, I wonder what TV show they're watching in the background that I'm hearing screaming in my head as I'm trying to play Magic." Jesus, just turn it off or turn it down. Or if it's music, play it through your headset, not through your speakers, your desktop, or your studio monitors, or whatever the hell you've got, your surround sound. I don't care. It's not hard. People figure it out.
And if you're in a situation where you can play during whatever time of the day, but during that time of the day your house is super active and there's a bunch of shit going on, you either need to figure out a way to eliminate as much of that as you can, or find a different place to set up, or play at different hours, because you're just annoying everybody you're playing with, and eventually people are going to be like, "I don't really want to play with this guy because every time I do, I hear his kids getting beat in the background or whatever," and it's just, nobody wants to hear that shit.
Exactly.
And on that same note, I get tech issues happen and whatever, and like this goes back to what we were talking about as far as improving your setup or setting up in general. Like, make sure your shit's ready to go when before you actually queue up for a game. If you're going to go someplace and queue up randomly with random people, they're not going to want to wait for you to set up after you're already in queue. Like, one of my biggest pet peeves is, like, I'm already set up. I've done my OBS. I've done everything. Everything's ready. My mic's on. My headset's on. I've tested levels. I've tested the inputs. Everything's going in and out the way it's supposed to be. I've got my deck set up. It's ready to go. Or I have my cards out. I've already shuffled, or at least they're there ready to shuffle on camera, because sometimes that's the thing that needs to happen. But generally, being prepared before you even queue is better. Now, it's one thing if it's your own little personal group of guys and you're the last one. They're like, "Hey, we're looking for a fourth," and you're like, "Hey, I'll jump in." And you jump in, you start talking with them while you're setting up. That's one thing. Those are your buddies. They're going to be understanding. That's fine. But if you're going to go queue with random people, that are only have, you know, their certain amount of time that they have to set up and play. They don't want to already be ready in a queue. They're already set up, everything's good to go, and they got to wait 20 minutes for you to figure your shit out so that you can finally start the game.
Yeah, it just comes
Nobody's
down
going to want to play with you.
respect other people's time. Exactly. Like, have your
Right.
stuff set up. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to join this game, then go outside and, you know, smoke, and then come back in 5 minutes later while we're all sitting here just twiddling our thumbs waiting on your dumbass. I mean, Jesus, just have some respect for other people's time. Exactly. It's not hard. It's common sense. I think, and you can tell me about this, Elaine. You're an online gamer. I think there's a disconnect sometimes with people playing online games, and they treat Spelltable like it's that. It's not. It's an in-person over webcam kind of interaction. It's not an online game. These are real people.
Yeah, it's not like I get what you mean, and it's not like, so if I queue up for a game on a video game, like I don't have to set up a camera, I don't have to set up any of this stuff. All I have to have set up is obviously the computer has to be on, you have to load into the thing, but all your peripherals are already set up. Your keyboard, your mouse, all that's already plugged in. If you are doing something that requires a webcam, which is rare, you would probably already have that set up too. But generally, you're just going to have your audio. And if you're playing with friends, you're going to be queued up in the Discord with them already, and you load up and you queue, and that's what happens. I get where you're going with that. It's not a direct one-to-one comparison, but at the same time, it is. You don't say you're ready to go, start the queue until you're ready. So like if I am talking on Discord with my coworkers, for example, I play Valorant and other games with them. So prior to anybody joining up, we're talking in our group chat, and we'll say, "Hey, who's playing Val tonight?" And then somebody will say, "Yes, yes, 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 whatever." Okay, so now your group can be a total of 5 people. So we're like, "Okay, cool. We got a 5 stack tonight. We're gonna get on at this time. Cool." And so then that time rolls around. We all jump into the voice chat. We're all talking. We're all ready to go. Then somebody's like, okay, like we go and get in the game. We all join in the group in the game. And then somebody's like, okay, whoever the group leader is, like, all right, I'm going to start it. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me take a leak real quick. That's totally fine. You know, I'm going to go use the restroom real quick, come right back. They queue up, we go. Not queue up and then load into the game and be like, hey, I got to go to the restroom real quick while the game's actually on the line and you're supposed to be performing. So same sort of etiquette. Like, take care of your restroom, take care of grabbing drinks, take care of if you need snacks. You know, obviously mute yourself when you're fucking eating them. But like, if you got to have that kind of shit at the table, get all that stuff before you start. Be ready to go when you queue up, so that you're not making people wait, because some people don't have time. I've jumped in with games with people that were like, I just assumed they're going to play for a while, and they're like one game, and they're like, okay, gotta go. Sorry, later. So you never know, and you gotta respect people's time. So,
on that note, if you're playing a game against other people, whether they're your friends or just random, especially if it's random strangers, don't be on your cell phone texting away, watching videos, not paying attention to what's going on. Please be involved, be active, make it part of the game. I don't know. That's just me being an old fart.
That is that disconnect with the internet thing that you were talking about that I understand.
Yeah.
Is like, yeah, I mean, it's just the same. Like, pretend. So yes, this is a virtual get together with people that you may or may not know in real life, that you may or may not have will ever meet. But you still need to treat them with the same respect you would some random fucker that you're playing with at an LGS. If you go to an LGS and you sit down and you're playing a game with some people, and the whole time you're on your phone scrolling through TikTok while they're taking actions and they're doing things and you're missing stuff, and then you're like onto your turn and you go demonic tutor and they're like, he's got a
opposition
agent,
agent
an opposition agent or an Aven mind sensor. Like, he's got that. He played that like 2 turns ago, but you were on your phone. But now you want me to you want to be able to take it back because you didn't know. Like, no. Like, you need to eat that punishment because you were sitting on your phone.
Yep.
And the same thing goes, and I think it's easier for people to do it over this, especially because most people don't play with the face cam. They just play with their camera pointed at the thing. So you don't know what they're doing outside of what you can see that's going on with their cards. So they could be on their phone the whole time and not paying attention and whatever. And I've had people be like, "Oh, well, I didn't see that come down." It's like, well, dude, it's been on the board for 3 people's turns. Like, if we're friends, I might be friendly and be like, okay, it's fine. But most of the time, it's like, nah, dude, you need to eat that. Like, you weren't paying attention. And like, if we're in a tournament setting where there's a judge is gonna say, "Fuck you, pay me."
Yep.
You know. So
If we're friends, I'm gonna call you out for your bullshit and tell you fuck off. Pay attention to what's going on, dumbass. I mean, that's gonna be the reality of it for me.
yeah, there's times where it's fine, especially like if it just happened, like the turn before yours, and you were AFK. That's something. That's different. But most of the time,
Sure.
people are like, "Hey, I'm gonna go AFK because I gotta use the restroom. I gotta let the dog out, or my wife needs me for something real quick. I gotta change the fucking baby's diaper. Whatever. People got lives. We
Yeah.
understand, and we play with those kinds of people all the time, so it's not a big deal. But if it does come down to that, when that person comes back, they need to be reminded. And a lot of times when I say like, "Oh, hey, I got to go let the dog out. Let me know if I get any Ristic triggers or Mystic triggers or whatever." And you ask people to kind of take care of that for you, so that when you do come back, you can be like, "Yes, you get to draw a couple cards because somebody
Yeah.
else was table policing for your Ristic study or whatever." So that's fine. But just being rude about it and just being like, or just ninja AFKing, that kind of shit doesn't fly, and it's
Yep.
not good for this sort of online community that is sprung up around the game. So the rule zero conversation happens here and there. I don't have it a lot because most of the time I play CDH, and the rule zero is just play whatever the fuck you want as long as it's not on the ban list. So CDH is kind of a different mindset from casual EDH and some of the other formats, but generally speaking, you do have to have that conversation as far as like power level goes or whatever. But generally speaking, if you're queuing up in a place that only plays CDH, or that's the primary thing, you're going into it knowing it's CDH. So try not to bring a fucking high powered or some weird casual list to the table knowing it's not going to compete with the other decks that are already there. The rule zero conversation is already there. It's already happened if you're playing on a CDH server. It gets a little more muddy when you go down to the other formats, but there's still sort of power level considerations you should have a conversation about at the beginning of it, and then appropriately choose your deck based on that. So if you're playing against some guys that are like, it happens on my server a lot where one of the guys is like, "Hey, I want to play some casual tonight," and we're like, "Okay, cool." So then we get people who are like, "Yes, we will play casual," and we all kind of understand what casual means, and we will bring appropriate level decks to the table. But then there's been times like recently, some people wanted to play casual, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to bring the CPDH list because it's probably good enough to sit with casual." Spoiler alert: it wasn't. It was not good enough at all because the common restriction just kind of fucked me. But I thought it might be okay, and in that instance, like that was my bad. But it wasn't a bad play experience for anybody. I still contributed and did things in the game. It was just not exactly the right power level for it. And the same thing happens with people like us that brew random off the wall shit. It's not always necessarily good enough for like top end CDH. If they're playing Nagila or 4 color lists, they're probably going to get there before us and whatever. But you also have to test these kinds of weird lists against those kinds of decks to see if they are viable, because if they can sit at that kind of table, then they are viable. So
Yeah.
there's a lot
And
of
the other thing about
consideration
it,
there, and the rule zero thing is a weird spot where a lot of people disagree on how it should be done, and same with power levels and structures and stuff. But
well,
that's a
and that's
whole
the other
different
thing
topic.
too. We're not trying to gatekeep anybody as far as if you think your list is a CEDH deck, bring it. By God, I love brewing weird off the wall crap, like as Lane said. And sometimes my stuff, if you want to talk tier list, isn't going to be S tier. It might be C tier, D tier, but it's still going to win the occasional game. I'm still going to have interaction, whatever. And it might be way better than I think. It may be better than you think. Who knows? But I'm not going to bring my Homerid tribal deck to sit at a table full of CDH decks because that's not fun for me. And it sure as hell isn't fun for the CDH players that don't want to sit there and waste their time against that. It's not like they don't, it's kind of that pub stomping mentality that a lot of people get it right and a lot of people get it weird. And I don't want to bring my CDH deck to play against a bunch of casual decks where I'm going to win every game without fail, lose one out of 10 maybe. That's not fun for me. I can play solitaire by myself if I really want to do that, right? And it's not fun for them.
Well, thing that's funny
It's just,
about that though is that a lot of CDH decks actually won't sit very well with casual decks because it's just a different way of playing the game. So there's that
It,
whole
it
like
totally depends,
they're
and
gonna
that's
flood
that's
the board with creatures, and you're like, I have 3 creatures in my whole list, and I'm just getting my face beat in. And sometimes that'll be the thing that fucks you. But I get what you're saying. There's those
yeah.
super turbo lists that can just win on turn 2, and the casual decks can't do anything about it, and that's not
Yeah,
fun.
or if you're beating my face up and I still have Thassa's Oracle and Demonic Consultation, or I'm gonna, windfall into some, whatever the CDH combo is. I'm gonna Bomberman, yeah, whatever it is, Food Chain, etc., etc. It doesn't matter. It's just not a fun experience for you. It's probably not a fun experience for them. They didn't bring their casual deck to sit there and mana ramp for 4 turns to play their 7 drops that are fun to watch you go Thassa's Oracle, Demonic Consultation, game over. That's not fun for them. But it's also not fun.
Or that's where I bring my my Tivit list. That's a 6 mana commander, and I cast him on turn 1 and win on turn 2.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same token, 3 CDH decks don't want to play against your Crawworm tribal deck either. It's not fun for us either. We're trying to play
because you're not interacting. You're not helping stop
decks.
the threats. You're not doing shit. You're just sitting
dead
there.
weight.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
He's carrying your dead weight most likely. It's horrible. So don't do that.
On that note too, I mean, I see some of the other stuff you had in the notes here. I don't understand why anybody would want to cheat, but I know that it's prevalent over Spelltable.
It made me
like
think
people don't shuffle properly, or they don't. And one of my biggest things, I actually have it in the rules document on my server. It was stupid shit, and it's a good example. But like Sylvan Library is a great card, but over Spelltable, it's kind of difficult to resolve without looking like you're cheating. So essentially, the way the card is worded is weird too, because it's old fucking Magic terminology. But basically, my advice to people was, if you're gonna do Sylvan Library, you leave your hand on the table so people can see it. You draw the first card. That happens regardless. That's your draw step. That goes into your hand automatically. And then you pick up the other 2 cards. You keep them separate from your hand. You could decide whether or not you're going to take either one of those and you're going to pay the 4 life, or you're going to put them back. And if you do it that way, everybody knows you're not cheating. But if you pick up 3 cards off the top of your hand, or top of your deck, and you put them in your hand, and then you start putting shit back on top of your deck, because, I'm not going to take any extra life, we don't know if you're putting shit that was there, that was already in your hand. It's the same thing with Brainstorm. Well, Brainstorm is different because you can put whatever you want. But you know what I'm saying? Like, every card that's worded a certain way, like, they have these different interactions where you need to be mindful of that. And also, generally speaking, you should try to keep your hands visible. And it is hard to keep your hand visible on the playmat without actually giving away information. But there's ways you can angle it and you can still see it and yada yada. And also, for content creators especially, if you're a guest on a stream or if you're trying to start doing it, announcing your cards goes a real long way. Saying what you're doing. So it comes to your turn. You say, okay, I'm going to untap while you're doing it. I'm going to draw while you're doing it. And then, okay, I'm going to play this land as my land for turn. I'm going to perform this action. On upkeep, I have a mana crypt trigger. I'm going to do this. Announce what your flip is or what your roll is. Most of us roll, but for me, it's evens are safe. Some people like odds. Whatever you want to do, you do those things. You perform those actions. Okay. Then you pass turn. Guy's on his end step before yours. On your end step, I want to tap and cast this Enlightened Tutor. I'm going to search my library, blah, blah, blah. That goes on top. I'm going to draw that card for turn. You guys already know what it is. It's this mana crypt. I'm going to play it for free. Just narrating what you're doing for content creators is amazing because it actually helps a lot for their cues as to when they need to put cards on screen and whatnot. But just in general, for everybody, if you announce everything that you're doing, because I see a lot of people where they just the guy before him says pass turn, and they just untap, they draw, they don't say shit, they play a land, and then they just at some point they say, okay, I'm casting this thing, and you're like, dude, you've taken like 15 fucking actions, and if I wasn't paying attention, I wouldn't have known what they were. So just announcing what you're doing is really
it gives
good.
You a clear board state. It's also, I mean, we're not sitting at a table across from you. I can't see your cards easily. Sometimes if your setup's amazing, great, I can probably see it. If it's not, please just name the card you're playing. If I'm attacking you, Don't just change your life total. Tell me I'm blocking, I'm not blocking, whatever it is. Just try and be clear, have good communication. It will make the
Also,
experience
remind
more
people that
enjoyable.
they're taking commander damage or they're taking
Yeah.
infect, because there are trackers on Spelltable for those things, and it is that player's responsibility. You can't track for other people, so they have to track for you. Each person has their individual uh, thing under their life total where they can click on the menu and go and track the combat or the commander damage from whoever. And it tracks individually on each player, and the player who's attacking you can't set it for you. So just track your stuff, keep track of what's going on, pay attention to the game, get off your phone. You're here to play Magic. You're not here to talk to your
Watch
girlfriend
TikTok. Exactly.
or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Or watch music videos or whatever it is. The other thing, by the way, is Sylvan Library, just so we're clear, it allows you to draw 2 additional cards, and you can put back any 2 cards you have drawn this turn. So any of the 3 are fine.
yeah,
to put back.
that's correct. That's correct.
But anyway,
it is
but
the
that's a
reason
great point.
I
Set
said
your-
it that way is because after the first draw, you can actually look at the first draw and then cast Worldly Tutor that you just drew, and then that affects the other 2 cards. So
Yeah, I mean, and there's a bunch of little neat tricks and chips, but the great thing you said is set your hand down, set those 3 cards aside, so you're not
when you're
mixing
tutoring
them up.
too, like if
Yeah,
you okay,
exactly.
so like good example, I've seen it too, where people are like, oh, I'm going to tutor for a thing. Put your hand aside and perform your tutor. But like, say you're looking through your deck and then you're like, you see a card and you're like, oh, maybe I tutor for that, but then you don't remember what's in your hand. Set your deck back down, so your hands are empty again. Pick your hand up, look at it, put it back, and then pick your deck up. Don't make it to where it looks obvious to where you're at any point where you could be swapping cards around.
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
again,
that's
I
the
don't know
thing.
why you would cheat, but I understand that people do cheat, and it makes no sense. You're cheating
It's
everybody.
sad. It's sad. It's ridiculous. If you need to cheat at Magic, just stop playing Magic, please. I mean, it's ridiculous. I know I hear about it happening.
Even if you don't cheat, you're eventually gonna win a game. Like, there's no reason to cheat because
I don't understand it either at all.
like the average win percentage of most decks is 25% because you're in a 4-player game. If you get anything over 25% win rate, you're doing good. So you got to expect to win 3 out of every 4 games, or sorry, lose 3 out of every 4 games. So like cheating, yes, it may increase that rate, but wouldn't you
At the
rather just
cost of
win?
being just the worst scum of the earth. Anyway, I don't know. I can't.
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
understand
nobody's
cheating
gonna want to play with you if you do
ever.
get pointed out for
Ever.
cheating. So.
Yeah, but that's the other thing too, and why we talk about specifically set your head down. The way he was talking about resolving tutoring, etc. Just don't give anyone the opportunity to say you're a cheater. Don't be one. That's goes without even saying, for crying out loud. But just make sure it's clear.
Well, there are misplays too that can happen. Like, oh,
Absolutely.
I
We're
went
not
to go
perfect,
tutor
shit.
and somebody had a thing out that says you can't tutor, and you're like, oh, well, let me take that back. And as long as it's caught, immediately, it's not a big deal. You're just giving out free information to the rest of the table, blah blah blah. And I will even go as far as to like friendly reminder somebody who's about to crack their wish claw, like, hey, there's an op agent on the field, like, don't do that. Oh yeah, okay, and they take it back. That's fine. Now, if they go so far as to do it and then like nobody reminded them and it's just they're confident and they're going to go, then they kind of have to suffer the consequences. But that's up to your play group, and that's up to who it is you're playing with. Some people will be like, it's fine, you can take it back, like you didn't remember or whatever. But if the fucking opposition agent has been on the board for 3 turns and now you're trying to tutor into it, like, you deserve to be punished. Like, that's the way the real game works. So
yeah, the best thing to do is eat that mistake and learn from it, honestly. But that's,
right,
that's up to other people. But the other part about that is, if you're going to activate Wishclaw Talisman, for instance, say I'm going to tap 1 mana, activate Wishclaw Talisman. Announce that you're doing it. Just don't be like, Wishclaw, pick up your deck, start searching. I mean, just please.
Yeah,
just
you do need to wait. That priority is a huge thing too. That is an etiquette thing. Is priority is a thing where player 1 says, I'm going to play this Thassa's Oracle, and then I'm going to hold priority, and I'm going to cast this Demonic Consultation. Well, you have the ability to respond then. Whoever the next player or whoever's next in turn order has the ability to respond, and there's a couple ways you can respond to that, by either countering the Thassas on the stack because they held priority, so both things are on the stack, or you can counter the consultation, whatever you have interaction for. If not, you can also wait until the Thassa's resolves, and then force them to draw a card so they lose anyway. There's a lot of different things that can happen, but knowing that you have priority is important, but also knowing that like if you're the fourth guy in that rotation behind the guy who cast the Thassa's Oracle, you shouldn't automatically be like, I have interaction because there's two other people in front of you that have priority. So you should let priority happen. Let the guy say, I pass, and then you take your action, or let the first guy do it, and then whatever. And then there's sandbagging and a lot of other shit that can go into there and politics and whatever. So a
Sure.
billion
But
different
that's the other
variables.
thing.
But generally speaking, if you can pay attention to priority and not jump the gun or not, give out information that's not necessary, it's going to make for better games, especially in CEDH.
Yeah, the other big piece about that too is just passing priority is an action that you should take so that the next person knows that it's their turn to decide. I mean, just again keeps the
Yeah.
board state, it keeps the game state clear, and it makes the game more fun.
Well, and also knowing what colors can interact is a thing. Say there's the guys that's doing the demonic consultation. Obviously, he's in Demir plus. The next guy might be mono red, and if he is passing priority, it's because he doesn't have that pyroblast or whatever to hit the Thassas. There's no other interaction he's got for the consult. And then the next guy is mono white, so he's got nothing outside of maybe a silence, but that's already too late. And then there's the next
Angel's
guy that's
Grace.
playing.
Don't you forget Angel's Grace anyway.
Sure, but you know what I'm saying. Like, there's
Yeah,
limited forms of interaction depending on the colors, and if you know that, if it's the one guy there and you're the fourth player and you're the only other guy in blue, 90% of the time you're going to be the guy that's going to be interacting, and you already know the other guys are passing, but you don't necessarily on that first point of interaction. So when they're like, somebody's in the middle of a combo, not using consultation because that's a bad example, but like they're in some sort of storm thing or they're doing ad nauseam, and like there's multiple points where you can interact, and it's not necessarily immediately clear which is the right place to take the action. Um, you may let the other people pass priority, but then after so many game actions have happened by that player and nobody's interacted, you pretty much know at that point, like they don't have nothing, but you still have this one piece because it's a stifle effect or whatever. That's just a random weird thing that you have in your hand that may be able to interact. And a lot of times people will also offer up like, hey, the only thing I have in my hand is an Igonjo. So if he plays something like I can hit that with, I will, but otherwise, and that's just kind of the way it goes. So I think it's a bit of just common courtesy and people social skills with other people, but then also a combination of like actually knowing the game and what sort of interactions people will have, which will come as you play any format over time.
Yeah, and we're getting into a lot more maybe specific game actions and such than the general topic, which is just basically just pass priority. Don't jump the gun. Exactly. There is one quick piece I also have for you for the setup to improve your setup and with etiquette. Just have your play area kind of clear of other clutter, other obstructions. Make it easy so we can see your battlefield. Don't be clacking your dice around while somebody else is playing and have your hand on the camera and you're clacking your dice and spinning around making a bunch of noise and being a nuisance. And just try and have things that I don't want to have to ask you, is that card in play, is that on your battlefield, what is this? If it's you're working on another deck, move it off to the side, out of the camera. Just make your play area the play area and try and keep it tight. So
right. Yeah, I mean, we all pretty much have designated areas. Not everybody uses the same side of the mat or whatever, but generally your library's over on one side, your command zone is kind of somewhere near it, your graveyard is somewhere near it, your exile is generally the same spot as your graveyard. It's just turned sideways, so we know it's exiled. Other commanders that may have their own exile spots, like Paco Halden or Evelyn or other commanders like that have their own special exile zone. Those things go off to a side, but they're like
etc.
right, Voidwalker, etc. Like those will have their own little spots, but generally you can kind of get that from the way people will position and posture their stuff. So also don't put your fucking lands at the top like a weirdo, and don't tap like upside down and shit. Like, ugh. Generally accepted ways, tap to the left and just be done.
But to be fair, tap it. Don't do this little like Don't
Oh
like
yeah, the
tweak it.
3/4.
Good
I've
God
had
damn
guests
it.
that do that, and I've
Oh.
gotten comments about people that don't like that. So, there's a
Yeah.
bunch of nuance there, but yeah, I think that basically covers everything that we wanted to talk about today. So I'm gonna put a fuck ton of links to all of the things that we've talked about today, including some links to the websites, links to the places where you can go download some of the software, but then also links to like Amazon and stuff where you might be able to pick up some of this stuff for the cheap. We'll kind of put together a fairly basic build with a webcam and arm, other webcams you use for face, decent microphones and things that you might be able to get, headsets, etc. Stuff for a budget, and then maybe some suggestions for a little bit more upgraded stuff. We'll try to provide that here so you guys can take a look. And yeah, I think that's gonna be it for us today.
I think
But
we've talked a
we
lot more
look
than we
forward
anticipated, but
to,
hey, hopefully it helps somebody.
yeah. I mean, as long as this gets out there and people are able to get some value out of it, that's all I care about. So we
Totally.
will be back in a couple weeks. I'm not sure what the topic's going to be, but we'll figure that out, and we'll be back with you guys then. Have a good one, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Until next time.
Laters.